right, hello, good evening. Today is Thursday, and I'm glad that I'm on your screens, and also you have made time to join us for yet another edition of Opposing Views right here on MX24 television. My name is Kwabena Chenche Hinibuati, and as usual, we're transmitting live from our studios right here at the Silicon Square at East Legon off the MX24 roundabout right here at East Legon. Today, we have something very interesting for you. Now, for a lot of you who have paid a bit of attention to the political landscape in the past, few days, you would realize that something has been rather topical. It has had to do with the issue of corruption. That corruption debate has been rather rife. You can hear Sami Jemfi on radio and on TV. You can hear the NPP, several communicators of the party, moving from one station to the other. I mean, all trying to either justify one thing or try and spin something one way or the other. And it's all because the Center for Democratic Development Ghana, CDD Ghana, has actually put out the outcome of a survey which suggests quite a lot of things, among which includes the fact that a significant number of Ghanaians, rather high percentage, are of the view that government's fight against corruption has not been the best. They are not too enthused with Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo's posturing when it comes to fighting corruption. That's one aspect of the report. The report also talks about quite a number of other things, including free SHS, including the expectations of people of this government, particularly in this second tenure. And so today we want to pay a bit of attention to that. Of course, we'll zero in on the issue of corruption, try and look at the NPP's record against the NDC's record, and why perhaps a number of Ghanaians seem not too convinced that this particular government is doing enough to curb corruption. Stay with us. We'll be back shortly.
Angelina, you be cool in my temperature. If you call,
say cheese, take a picture. Shaka post, make a see, take a picture.
in the leg book, boa.
Why the party there today? Hey mama, hey I ever say. Secure.
Okay, many thanks for staying with us, and we are back from that very short break. Like I said, this is Opposing Views, and today the issue at hand has to do with that CDD report, which has gotten everybody talking, from political party communicators to pundits to media practitioners and the like. Quite a number of people sharing views, and it's rather interesting because this very survey takes into account the views of some 2,400 persons who were sampled when the CDD decided to gauge these views. Now I'm going to read just a portion of the documents they put out, which captured a bit more of what is expected to be showed in a short while. Now, it speaks of. In fact, let me take you through the background of this very survey. From there, maybe then we can take a look at the methodology, and then we'll do a deep dive into the breakdown of that very report. So, starting with this, so the highlights of the findings from the CDD Ghana. The background is suggesting this, that in spite of the COVID-19 pandemic, Ghana held another successful presidential and parliamentary elections on December 7, 2020, which produced unique outcomes. The incumbent New Patriotic Party candidate, that's President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, got re-elected as president, though he lost a significant number of votes compared to the 2016 election results. The NPP lost 32 parliamentary seats of which 31 went to the National Democratic Congress and 1 to an independent candidate, leaving both NPP and NDC with 137 seats each. And for the first time in the Fourth Republic, the country has to deal with a hung parliament with a staunch opposition NDC member as the Speaker of the House. Now, the Ghana Center for Democratic Development, Ghana, the CDD, initiated the post-election survey this year to measure citizens' expectations of the NPP government's performance in the delivery of its 2020 manifesto promises, as well as expectations from Parliament, specifically citizens' interpretation of the outcome of the elections, particularly the parliamentary one, expectations of the likely impact of the current hung parliament, expectations of the likely impact of the election of NDC person as Speaker of Parliament, and expectations regarding the performance of the NPP government in the next 4 years. So that's the context. I hope it makes a bit of sense. Now, the breakdown suggests this, that they are taking a look at the NPP's performance in the past 4 years, that's from 2016 to 2020, taking a look at the election, the outcome of the elections, which suggests that now we have a hung parliament, and then they begin to ask, so with this hung parliament, how is it likely to impact on the business of Parliament? Is it going to affect even the president or the governing party in a way, and all of that? Then also it takes a look at the fact that there's an NDC Speaker of Parliament. How is this also likely to affect the dealings of Parliament? Okay, so all of those are matrices that were used in coming about this survey. And then also it goes on to look at a futuristic thing. In the next 4 years, that's from 2021 up until 2024, what remain the expectations of Ghanaians as far as the Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo government is concerned? So these are the thematic areas the research focused on, and some of the outcomes are rather interesting. We'll get to them in a short while, but let me introduce my guest for today. Mausi Dumenu is a research analyst with the Center for Democratic Development Ghana. He'll be taking us through that research they have done and help us understand a bit more what it means to you and I. Also, Mohamed Abbas, a political scientist, hopefully he'll be joining us in a short while. We'll have a representative from the governing party, a deputy general secretary of the party, Nana Obribwany, will be joining us. Also, we'll have a rep from the National Democratic Congress in the person of Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa, the Northern MP. He will also be joining us. Well, you've heard him also. He's been in the news in the past 48 hours or so, suggesting that President Akufo-Addo is embarking on a lot more trips on some private jets and is costing the country so much. Okay, that's not what we are talking about today. We'll deal with it some other time. But for now, these are the guests who will be joining us delve into this. Mausi is on now. We'll start with him because, again, himself and his people are the ones who have brought us this far. Mausi, good evening. Thanks for joining us right here on Opposing Views on MX24 television.
Yes, hello. Good evening, Kwabena, and good evening to your listeners and then the other panelists as well.
Indeed, it's good to see you.
Thanks for having me.
Fantastic, great. Before you come, I just want to take viewers through a summary of your report. We have a short infographic which tries to capture most of the things that were highlighted. And so let me start by sharing with you some of the slides that we have put together. Here's the first one. Now, as you take a look at it, I will run you through it, and then Mausi will help us understand a lot more, and then maybe a few questions you may also have, you can share with us subsequently. Okay, now, here you go. The report suggests that 62% of Ghanaians who were sampled, mind you, the sample size was 2,400, 62% of this number doubt government's ability to curb corruption and official impunity. 62%. Please take note. Okay. Now, 53% are not confident in government's ability to protect the country's financial resources. That they are not very sure that this government will do whatever they have to do to protect the country's purse and prevent people from looting. Okay, 44% of the people sampled believe that government will perform better in maintaining roads and bridges. 44%. Again, there's a huge gap there, but of course, we'll delve into that in a short while. 43% also believe that government will perform better in providing water and sanitation services. 35% are optimistic about government's ability to reduce crime. 35. That's a rather low percentage, but of course, this is not what CDD is saying. This is what people are saying, and CDD has captured all of that and is sharing with us. So we need to be mindful of these statistics as have been churned out. Okay, let's move on. Now, 58% of Ghanaians attribute the reduction in President Akufo-Addo's vote margin to the president's policy decision and actions. Okay, so we'll get Mausi to, for instance, take us through this a bit more. Let me quickly run you through this slide, and the Mausi can join us. 45% are optimistic that in the next 4 years, the Akufo-Addo government will perform much better or better in addressing educational needs. Also, 57% have no confidence in government to expand the One District, One Factory initiative across the country. 52% of Ghanaians are confident that government will consolidate the gains of the free SHS program. And 61% lack confidence in the government's ability to expand the $1 million per constituency initiative. Okay. Data you collected.
All right, Governor, thank you very much. So this is a post-election survey that we just disseminated the results, and it's created some buzz in the media space. I would like to say that this is the very first time that we've done a post-election survey. Most of the work around these election-related surveys that we've done have been pre-election surveys, and so we first started one in 2016, did about 2 in 2016, and then we did one a pre-election in 2020.
Right.
But then with this particular post-election survey, originally the intention was, in fact, we were doing a local governance survey, but then we felt that it was interesting. It would be interesting to include some post-election survey questions, particularly looking at the votes that the current president Nana Akufo-Addo had. When you compare 2016 and then 2020, you realize that there was a decline, and so it's interesting to get citizens' views about what they think in terms of what may have contributed to that reduction.
Right.
Also, we are also looking at the 8th Parliament, which is the hung Parliament that we have now. It's an interesting one. This is a first in our history since we're having such a hung Parliament, and particularly for the Fourth Republic. And so citizens wanted to measure their expectations about this hung Parliament and then what it holds for us going forward in the next 4 years. And so, broadly speaking, we also looked at issues around service delivery, which is of importance to us going forward. How do we expect the government to perform in terms of these service delivery? And so, yes, broadly speaking, these are. I think there's also another section that dealt with what citizens can do in terms of holding public officers responsible and then accountable to the citizens. And so, broadly speaking, these are the thematic areas that inspired this particular research, and then several questions were drawn from it. But all in all, we interviewed 2,400 respondents across the entire length and breadth of the country, considering all the 16 regions of the country. And with this, we say that this sample was drawn using a national representative sample, and the respondents in the survey were randomly selected, such that each respondent that we selected had an equal chance of selection. And so when you look at the demographics, we have a 50-50 split between male and then female. And we also make sure that, so that means 50-50 split between male and then female respondents. We also made sure that the proportion of rural and urban population was in sync with what the national Ghana Statistical Survey estimates have. We also made sure that within the selection, we also made sure that the proportion of the population in each of the regions reflected the proportion of population within our sample. And so with the 2,400 that we've selected, that covers the entire country, we have a 95% confidence that this sample that we are presenting reflects the views of citizens of Ghana. Does that come? and the implications of this is that with the procedures and the processes that we have, we use for our conducting our survey, the research processes and all that, it means that if anybody should take these same processes and then go through the processes that we've go through the process of collecting this data, there's a 95% chance or probability that they will arrive at the same findings or similar findings that we have. Right. And so that will explain the 95% confidence that we have in this survey.
I like the fact that you are very confident in the report you have churned out. We'll come to some of the things people have said on the back of the release of this report, but I find something rather interesting here, and please indulge me, help us with this. I am seeing this now. It says 58% of Ghanaians, or at least of the people you sampled, are attributing the reduction in President Akufo-Addo's vote margin to the president's policy decision and actions. It appears rather vague. Can you zero in a bit for us what this actually means?
Okay, so with this particular response, obviously you know that Ghanaians are very discerning and they look at what is happening. They have their experiences with a lot of things that they've seen and then heard being done by the president and all that. And so if they've been able to come to this conclusion, I believe that it's born out of these things that some of the actions that have been taken by the president in his first term in office. And so most of the issues in there were lumped in as such, and so that explains why they were saying that some of the decisions that were taken by the president, they believe it's a reason for the reduction in the votes when you compare the two time periods of 2016 and then the 2020 elections.
Okay, let's take a look at this. Mark Menu is someone who has done, well, he's led the NPP on a number of occasions as far as elections are concerned. He's raised a number of issues, particularly as regards the data churned out. And they take a look at the data put out before the election and the data which you are putting out now after the election, and he's suggesting there's a bit of a discrepancy there. He goes on to list a few other things, but let me not speak for him. Let him speak for himself. Let's listen to him and then tease out the major things he says, and then let's see if we can get an answer from you as far as the concerns the party is raising are concerned. So here's Mark Menu of the New Patriotic Party.
46, so it's only a 1% increase. Go and check them. You see, before you do this, you should have got I have my copy of the 2020 pre-election survey here. Oh, of course, if you look at the hula baloo people are talking about, and you look at the survey results, you will be amazed. I mean, look at what people are saying. It means that there's so much propaganda than the actual work that's going on. That's the way I see from the results. And we must look at actuals. This republic started in 1992. MPP had 0 in parliament in 1992. In 1996, we rose to 62 out of 200 seat parliament. In 2000, when President Akufo won for the first time, we rose again to 98. In 2004, we rose again to 100 and something. So MPP is not a party that has been losing parliamentary seats. Not at all. So you must check the history of parliamentary seats before you ask this question. I think on the whole, we've been doing better because gradually from 92, we have been increasing our seats.
Okay. So essentially, propaganda. That's what he's suggesting, that a number of people are embarking on propaganda. I don't know if he's suggesting in any way that CDD is part of those people indulge in the propaganda. But this is a shorter version of the sound clip we shared with you. If you want a longer version of it, and trust me, you would want to listen to a lot more of what he said, do make time after the show at 6:30 p.m. There will be the news right here on MX24 television. And on the news, we are going to bring you a lot more of what it is that Peter Mark Menu, a former chairman of the party, and he's been at the helm of affairs when it comes to election-related issues in the party. He's been saying a lot. So let me come back to Mausi. Mausi, so among other things, they are suggesting that perhaps you may be indulging in some bit of propaganda and that your data appears a bit inconsistent. Any response?
Yes, there are quite a number of responses I want to give to this.
Okay.
So let me start from this angle. Okay, CDD was established in 1998, and we've conducted a lot of research within this period and a lot of surveys, nationally representative sample surveys within this period. And so, in terms of the work that we do, then the processes and then the methodology that we use, it's without question. And so, for the statement that Mr. Bagmenu had, in fact, during the dissemination, I was present. I sat through the dissemination, and that was when the comment that he made. I think the comment that he made has been represented in the media. Okay, in terms of the fact that the propaganda that he's talking about, it's not CDD. He didn't attribute it to CDD. Okay, he didn't attribute it to CDD in any way.
Right.
Okay, but okay, fine. Now let's just leave it as such. And I don't think the comment that he made was in reference to CDD being CDD being the one championing propaganda. No, that is not the import of this whole thing. But all in all, he was trying to make the point that he believes that now the government is working. Because I heard him say that even at the event, the government is working. It looks like some people are channeling some propaganda. That is why it may have watered down on what the government is doing. But clearly speaking, this is a survey that we collated the views of 2,400 persons, okay, across 2,400 persons across the entire country. And we believe that it's a response from a national representative sample that represents the views and the voices of people. Because for CDD and for CDD, we are interested in shaping public policy and development policy options for the country. And we believe strongly that citizens have a view to say in this. Because if the ordinary citizen have a view in this process, and so this is a process, our research process provides that opportunity for us to table and then bring out the concerns and then the thoughts and then the perspective and then the experiences of ordinary Ghanaians from across the length and breadth of the country, who may not necessarily have the opportunity to sit at the table with policymakers and then decision makers to take decisions for the country. And so we believe that this research process fits into the public policy.
Mousy, let me ask
so
this
whatever outcome that may be coming out of our research, it may probably hurt, it may probably cut, it may cut here and there. But the whole point is that we should not see it as something that is out there that they are doing to denigrate anybody. But we are interested in the overall development of this country. And then we believe that it's through research that will provide credible data for our policymakers and our decision makers to be able to use. Okay.
Mousy, let me ask this though. What do you say to persons who suggest that the sample size used in this is just too small? You can't speak to 2,400 people and do a report which suggests that a significant number of Ghanaians, in fact, majority of Ghanaians, are not impressed with the president's fight against corruption. What do you say to them?
Okay, so I think I've been saying this since we started this conversation about the samples. If you understand statistics very well, you realize that it's a census that you have to collect every single person's view on an issue. And that is what Ghana Statistical Service is doing. It's time consuming. It takes a lot of time, takes a lot of effort and resources to be able to, come to.
No, but you see, the question is that
I'm trying to make a point.
I know, I get you. But the point is that the critics are saying it may not be representative enough.
And on what basis? On what basis are they saying this?
2,400 out of a population of over 30 million.
They don't have any basis for saying this. You know something? If you look at statistical issues very well, you see, when you are doing sampling, okay, look at the population, and there are several, iterations that have been done by statisticians that are recognized within the scientific community, and so at every population there's a cutoff point as to the number of people that you can sample for a particular study, depending on the population. Okay, depending on the population. Okay, and so at some point in time, when you sample beyond a certain point, the effect on the effect on the sample, it will not have any effect. And so we believe that with the 2,400 that we are using for this survey, it's more than enough to represent the entire population of the country. Okay, because we cannot do a census. Even Ghana government that has resources, to some extent, how many times did they conduct census?
That's true.
It's every 10 years.
Right.
Okay, and so that's the reason. That's one of the main reasons why we do surveys using a sample that is statistically sound, a sampling process that is statistically sound.
Okay.
A sample size that is statistically sound, and a sample size that can easily represent the entire country.
Okay.
And so we believe that.
Right.
I mean, I was thinking we would move beyond this kind of conversation because it's something that
you
I've had in the past.
You can never move beyond it because you are dealing with politicians, and so it's understandable.
So I believe that it's a conversation that we should be having at this time. But we should be rather
like I said, once you are dealing with politicians, you can never move out of that very bracket. But that's fine. It's good you make all of these points. At this point, though, let me introduce one politician who is joining us. Nana Obribwan is Deputy General Secretary for the governing New Patriotic Party. Nana, good evening. Thanks for agreeing to join us today. It's been a while. Right. It's good to hear from you, though. Nana, let me ask, have you chanced upon this document by the CDD?
Oh, yes.
Okay. Have you read it by chance?
Oh, yes, in detail.
Okay. What are your comments on it? Your general impressions of the documents as churned out?
Oh, generally, not consider that the gospel truth education on the ground. However, I also run down the exercise conducted by CDD. That's a politician, and who is
And if you could kindly reposition yourself, I think it would greatly help us.
I'm in a vehicle.
Okay. Okay. Then maybe you could speak up a bit. I think that would help us.
Okay.
Great.
All right. Thoroughly the recommendations. And as a examiner, effectively, the views and sentiments of Ghanaians. You realize that this exercise was from between May 3rd and June 3rd. That was a period of 1 month.
Yes, between May and June, yes. That's about 6 months into your second term in office, yeah.
May 3rd and then June 3rd. So sometimes you ask the question, what was the situation on the ground before May 3rd? Then after June 3rd, what's the situation on the ground?
Okay, you tell us, what was the situation on the ground before May?
Yes.
Is it that we had a lot more Ghanaians believing that your party is fighting corruption and fighting it well? Is that the case?
No, I'm telling you that it's because this exercise from 3rd May to 3rd June. So what was the situation on the ground?
Yes, that's what I'm asking. That because the report is suggesting something. Okay, let's delve into it. Since you brought this up, let's take a look at this. The data suggests that 62% of Ghanaians doubt your government's to curb corruption and official impunity. And you are giving us the premise that we should take a look at. Sorry, Nana, just a second. You are giving us the premise that we should take a look at what was happening between maybe say January and May. Between January and June when all of this was conducted. And so I'm asking, is it the case that maybe at the time, Ghanaians were very impressed with the work of the government then, or it's the other way around, that at the time maybe we were not so impressed, but now we are impressed? Is that what you are saying?
That is possible. You know, the exercise comes through a period of 30 days. May 3rd to June 3rd.
Right.
And therefore, we are not told what was the situation on the ground.
Okay.
And then we are in September now. We are not being told what was the situation after June 3rd. After June 3rd, so between June 3rd to 31st July, 31st August, the situation probably might have changed. That is also possible. But do I, as a politician who is hell bent on breaking the jam, do I have to fight over this? I mean, basically, there is an attempt to which says that pardon me.
Okay. Nana, let's make it. I want. Okay. Let's do it this way. Let me ask this: do you think the report, or at least aspects of it, which capture the government's fight against corruption and a few other things, do you think those reports are accurate enough?
No, I bet
you don't think they are?
No.
Okay. Why do you differ from the views of the people sampled?
It was with due respect, it was compiled by human beings. It was not compiled by angels from heaven, with all humility.
As in, the report was not compiled by angels, so you are of the view that it may have been compromised, the outcome may have been compromised in a way?
Oh, well, even with that, I will not stand my hope on that. But considering the recent revelations about this, the ACA AGM issue where it is learned that some CSOs are taking 10,000, 30,000. That's not even look in some of these things.
Nana, so you are rubbishing a report by CDD, one CSO, which has a proven track record of doing certain things in certain ways. You are rubbishing their work because some other CSOs may have been compromised in one way or the other over a totally unrelated deal.
Maybe you are not being patient enough. The point I'm rubbing forward is that, look, that report is not the gospel truth of the situation on the ground.
Right.
So, however, once we are determined to break the chain, there is an attempt to review Caesar. No small person not trying. On a throne for 1 year. That means that the very shrine that is prepared to stay with you will tell you the do's and the don'ts. I'm not sure. Why let us welcome it? We don't need to fight with each other.
Right.
Meaning that we need to up our game. Let's improve upon the shortcomings which the CDD has made known to us. And that is all.
Okay, we'll come to that. You are saying you accept it, but then again, you rubbish it in a way because you don't even believe in the credibility of the report to begin with, and then you go on to also suggest that, well, okay, let me leave it at that. But I'll come to you again in a brief while. Samuel Okujeto Ablakwa is a North-Tongue member of Parliament. He's also joining us in our conversation this evening. Honorable, good evening. Thanks for agreeing to join us today. Hope you're well.
I'm good. Good evening.
Right, great. We are still speaking about the CDD report, and among other things, it's suggesting that a number of Ghanaians, quite a significant number, appear a bit worried about the president's fight against corruption. But first, though, what is your view on the reaction of the party, particularly, of course, now we've heard Nana Obribwan also give us his rationalization of why perhaps they are not in tune with the numbers as have been churned out. They think that the numbers may not be telling the full story. What is your comment on such a reaction from the party? And then on the back of that, we can take a look at your general impressions of the report in itself and how it either seeks to justify whatever the NDC may have been saying all of this while or otherwise.
Well, thank you for the opportunity.
Right.
Good evening to the panel and to all viewers. What the CDD has done is to capture the sense of Ghanaians after the 2020 election. So it's a post-election survey, and Ghanaians have articulated clearly to the CDD what their expectations are of the Akufo-Addo administration. It is important to stress that there is nothing contained in the CDD finding which is new or which should be surprising to any objective analyst. Indeed, as we speak, only today, the renowned anti-corruption crusader, Professor PLO Lumumba, who heads Kenya's anti-corruption body, has stated publicly that the hope he has with President Akufo-Addo has all been evaporated, and that President Akufo-Addo says one thing and does another thing. It's all rhetoric and no action. And particularly when it comes to the fight against corruption. He has given up. this is not a Ghanaian. This is not somebody you say can be compromised or is pro-NDC. Or
The MPP's argument will be the fact that people like you speak so soothingly about things and give a certain impression of a rather torrid situation in the country, and that perhaps may not be the case. They say you are involved in propaganda. And so when people outside the country also hear such things, then they get convinced, because Okudzeto Ablakwa speaks so eloquently and would have made a point so nicely, you are then convinced that, then the MPP must indeed be corrupt. But that may not actually be a true reflection. What do you say to that?
So it's the NDC that created the increase under the dealing with dubious middlemen and shonky sheikhs, which has embarrassed this government, and the bipartisan parliamentary committee has found the health minister to be in violation of Article 181(5) of the Constitution. Even the government's own Attorney General says that the health minister breached the Constitution and he should have come for prior parliamentary approval. That's all an NDC creation. It's the NDC that created the Australia visa scandal. That, as we speak, nobody has been held responsible. And yet we know that all kinds of impersonators were sent to Australia for the Commonwealth Games. Is that an NDC creation? Is it the NDC that created the boss scandal, the Moventina scandal, the Kwesi Nyantakyi scandal, where he made all kinds of plays, which was captured by the veteran journalist Anas Arimayao Anas? Is that an NDC creation? The PPA boss, Mr. ABAJ, who was caught on video admitting that he had any company that belonged to he and his husband, and they were siphoning contracts in a clear violation of the procurement law. Somebody who was appointed to protect the public purse and make sure that procurement goes on in this country according to law. He himself became the greatest threat to the very reason why the procurement authority was established and the procurement law was passed by Parliament. These are not NDC creation. On a daily basis, look at the Auditor General's report for 2020. I mean, aren't you embarrassed at the content? As a Ghanaian, if you love your country, and you see the millions and millions of Ghana citizens, actually billions, that have been wasted, that have been lost to corruption. I mean, so it's not surprising that you have the CDD poll pointing to the fact that majority of Ghanaians have just lost hope. They've lost confidence in this government. They see it as just a hopeless case. You cannot expect President Akufo-Addo to fight corruption. The last example, we all know the pedigree of the special prosecutor, the former special prosecutor. What did he say before he resigned? He said that, look, the greatest mistake he made in his life, this is the Venerable Martin Amidu speaking, that the greatest mistake he made in his life was to believe that President Akufo-Addo truly came to fight corruption. I mean, can you imagine? Look at this man, all the places he has worked, the number of years, Ghana's longest serving deputy and substantive attorney general, who was selected as special prosecutor because it was he carved a reputation for himself as an independent man, an anti-corruption czar, who was touted and celebrated by our friends on the other side. Look at the verdict. In addition to say that that was the biggest mistake, to believe that President Akufo-Addo was committed in fighting corruption, he also said that apparently the president himself, is the mother serpent of corruption. These are not our words. These are not words coming from NDC members. So It's not an NDC creation. And you see, what makes matters worse and why there's such a high number, a whopping 62%, the vast majority of Ghanaians. And remember that, I mean, nobody has won an election in this fourth republic by 62%. So it's such an overwhelming number. It tells you that when you even come to consider the conduct of those in leadership now, it is the fact that they are so defiant and they don't even want to admit that there are challenges. You heard the president recently say that when it comes to the corruption fight, he has been phenomenal. I mean, many Ghanaians had such a laugh at the president's statement. You know, a lot of CSOs were wondering, is the president really living in this country? I mean, so the whole anti-corruption fight has become a farce. It's become one big joke that nobody really, can count on this current administration to uproot the canker. And so, I mean, the CDD really has not said anything new, has not put out what we all do not know already.
I see. Okay. Let me take the views of the CDD in a short while and come back to Nana Obriboahin and ask him a very important question. But Mausi, you've heard the NPP's justification. Yes, they do say they welcome your report, but they have concerns with a number of things, including the fact that one, Mausi, you and I sitting here, we are not angels. So it's possible that, anything can happen since we are not angels. And then also, he speaks of a few other things. I'm sure you heard him. What would be your reaction to him as you perhaps wrap up on that very conversation?
Okay, so for this, I don't agree with him. For him to say this, because like I already said, we've
so he gives examples. He suggested that for the Aka Energy deal, for instance, a report has come out suggesting some CSOs, some supposedly as credible as your organization, went around taking 10,000 CDs and 50,000, others 100,000 and the like. And so what is to suggest that you may not have gone for some money from somewhere to spew the thing in the favor of some other party?
It's very unfortunate that it has to come to this. We are doing a very credible work, and I don't even want to talk about the allegations that have been leveled against some of these other CSOs. I want to speak for CDD and then speak for the work that we do. Okay, so if we've been doing this work, we've been doing this work since 1998. Okay, and for politicians, anytime something doesn't go in their favor, they want to look for an opportunity to denigrate, and so I sort of get where he's coming from, but that doesn't, have any bearing on the kind of work that we've done. We do a very credible work, and the point is that for me, for us, we go through stringent processes to be able to churn out the results and then the findings that we have. And so, yes, we've done this, and even when Mr. Peter McQueen was speaking, he made reference to an earlier survey that we did, and so that means he has confidence in the work that we do.
Right.
And looking at this, I also want to say that right at that event, the director of research for the presidency, Dr. Isaac Osumensa, was there, and he was the first person to speak after the presentation was done. And the comment that he made was that they had also been doing some research around, and they looked at the finding is in sync or it mirrors closely to what they've also been finding. So, and it speaks to some of the issues. And so, if somebody like that coming from that angle is making reference to, or maybe trying to parallel the work that we've done, it means that yes, he didn't have any cause to say anything bad against this, because now he's a person who also does a lot of research and all that. Right. And so, yes, this is just one angle of it, and I just want to make the point that we are professionals. We are researchers, and then we follow strict scientific protocols in doing our work, and so that gives us the confidence to come out and then share our findings anytime we do our research. And so some of these discussions, I know it will come up from time to time because of the findings may not necessarily go in somebody's favor, or somebody may think or may think that the findings are actually targeting them, but then that's not the case.
Okay.
We are looking at what's in the interest of the country, and these are the voices of ordinary citizens of this country.
Okay. All right. Mausi, many thanks for joining us on Opposing Views today. Mausi Dumenu is a research analyst with the Center for Democratic Development, Ghana, and he joined us to give us a bit more clarity on that report put out by the CDD as regards a number of things, including the confidence of the citizenry in the current government, expectations of the government, and whether or not we are even confident that anything will change as far as the issue of fighting corruption is concerned. Okay, let me come back to Nana Obriboy, who is the Deputy General Secretary for the NPP. Nana, people say, I've heard not 1, 2, or 3 people, a significant number of people suggest that politicians in general, when it favors you, you keep quiet and say, oh, this is a brilliant report put together by a fantastic organization. The credibility of this organization is not in doubt. And then you keep going on and on with all the accolades. If it goes against you, then you begin to find ways of punching holes in there. But more specifically to the New Patriotic Party, they say you people are rather, okay, well, they say you are very hard when it comes to some of these things. You never want to admit you are wrong. You never want to admit you are very hard. and you never want to admit that you are wrong. And that it could be one of the reasons why the party may not be doing as well as it's supposed to. Because when feedback comes, you see it as an attack, and then some way, somehow, you lose focus of, or you lose sight of the real issues that have been raised and just go all on the defense and sometimes counter-attack. Why is that the case?
Certainly, that is not the truth of the matter.
Okay.
You see, I made my position clear that first, the whole exercise was
Nana, are you still on? Okay, I think we've lost Nano Bribwa in there. We'll try and see if we can get him back on to help us with that very answer. But while Okujeto Ablakwa is still on, I'll take his views on this. Mind you, he was one time Deputy Minister for Education. And if you take a look at the report, it suggests something very interesting. Let me look at the data here. It says that majority of Ghanaians are optimistic. Ghanaians will consolidate the gains made with the free SHS policy. Mr. Ablakwa, Honorable, let me ask this. You have been at the ministry before. You had raised issues with the implementation of the policy and how a number of facilities had been abandoned, and you had cautioned, you had sounded the alarm bells a number of times that we may fall into problems. This may happen, that may happen. Well, a number of those cautions did come to pass. Some way, somehow, though, the government appears to be backtracking on a few things and trying to manage the situation. Do you share in the optimism of a significant number of Ghanaians who say that the free SHS may be better going forward in the next 4 years?
Well, I have always said that the agenda for free education is one that has always been part of us as a people, right from our independence history. The Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah initiated all kinds of scholarships. We've had the Northern Scholarship Scheme run for decades to bridge the gap as a way of an affirmative action to, as it were, address the decades and centuries of colonial and imperial discrimination or subjugation, if you like. Then you come to this Fourth Republic. At the birth of the Fourth Republic, the 1992 Constitution made it clear that basic education should be free, compulsory, universal, FQ. And then second cycle education should be progressively free, all the way even to tertiary education on the availability of resources. So the whole concept of free education is very Ghanaian. I don't believe that any specific or single tradition can hijack that or claim to be the panacea. What we must do, however, is to make sure that the three cardinal principles, access, quality, and affordability, are not, they run ad idem, that at all times we are paying attention to all those three. So we shouldn't have a system where in the name of affordability, wanting to be free, we do not prepare adequately. We are not investing in the infrastructure in quality, because there's nothing more dangerous than having half-baked or, poorly educated people. You churn them out, they have the certification, and yet they are not useful to society and to themselves. So we will continue to draw attention on the need to invest in quality. Nobody was told in this country that CSHS will come with double track. Double track was as a result of poor implementation, poor planning. If our blueprint had been followed, the progressively free, which is what the Constitution talks about, and by the way, the government itself, when it came to power, it was hit by reality, and so they could not implement what they had told us during the campaign. During the campaign, they had said that when they come, it will be instant for everybody. But you know that they started with first years, then they graduated into second years, and all of that. So it tells you that there are real challenges with funding, making sure that the infrastructure is put in place. As we speak, congestion is a major problem. You have all kinds of institutions that are complaining about even food grants. A number of schools have closed down as we speak because the food grants have not gone. You know what is happening now with even textbooks. For more than 3 years, textbooks have not been supplied to the schools, though curriculum has been reviewed. If you go to the basic level, you see what's happening with the school feeding catering. They are up in arms. I've been listening to them the whole week. They formed a group called Touch One, Touch All, saying they have not been paid for more than 7 months. And they are even demanding an increase, that 1 Ghana cedis per child to provide a meal for that child is too low. And I agree with them. You can't have any decent meal, any nutritious meal, prepared at 1 Ghana cedi.
Right.
So you can tell that there are real, challenges, and government will have to get off just the empty rhetoric and empty sloganeering, and do the hard work, the heavy lifting.
Okay.
The e-blocks are still abundant. This country needs the e-block. The government must move in this second term, move in, because Ghanaians will not accept. Look at the numbers, the work CSOs are doing on the teenage pregnancy, menace as a result of all these things, So we must admit that there's a lot of work to be done.
Okay.
And government should focus on those matters instead of, just engaging in the empty sloganeering and chest beating.
Okay.
That is not going to address the concrete challenges that confront us.
Okay, all right. Mr. Blackwell, many thanks for your time on Opposing Views today. Samuel Okujeto Blackwell is a North-Town member of Parliament, and he joined us with those views on the latest CDD report, which some are suggesting may be an indictment on the government. Let's wrap up with Nana Obribwine, who is the Deputy General Secretary of the NPP, has rejoined us. And Nana, you were making a point when your line tripped. Can you please conclude on that so we can allow people to call in now?
I started by saying that this exercise was not done by angels. But that statement should not be misconstrued to mean that I am running down the whole exercise.
The report, okay.
But I'm stating a fact. Then I continued by to say that, look, recent events, recent disclosures, recent information, recent revelations in this country has also demonstrated that we need to take some of these recommendations with a pinch of salt. In the light of the brown envelopes being thrown left, right, and center in this ACA, DMPC, ACA exercise. Because some of us are highly frightened by some of these revelations. However, I am also of the view that we should not also run down a notable institution like CDD with all these reservations at the back of our mind.
Right.
But then I continue to say that there is an account program. This is that, look, literally consider, it says that most more person on a church 1 year. Meaning that the shrine that is prepared to work with you will let you know the do's and the don'ts. So as a political party, which is determined to break the jail in 2024, fine, let us welcome some of these things, even though we do that with a pinch of salt. And that it means that we need to up our game. We need to be proactive. That is all. Don't need to fight the CDD. Don't need to fight those who are jubilating or those who are not jubilating. I mean, the bottom line is that let's just take it as an advice. And that once you are determined to break the chain, let us consider that as an advice, and therefore we need to up our game. So that is it. Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear. Final one before you
so
go.
That is it.
Yeah,
so
final one before you go.
Personally,
So
I'm not.
right.
I'm going to run.
But with the party,
also accepted because it was compiled by human beings.
Yeah, now let me ask this though. With the party taking note of these staggering figures or percentages, what is the plan to get Ghanaians for a number of Ghanaians who may have lost confidence in the government in its fight against corruption? What are the steps being taken to ensure that actually you're able to regain that confidence in the several people who may have lost it at this particular point? And we'll wrap up on this note. And for those watching, the numbers are on the screen now. You can share your views once Nana Obribwai wraps up with us. Nana, let's hear you.
You see, it's a political party.
Right.
Once you are determined to break the chain, you need to take pieces of advice from every corner. Some of these pieces of advice may not palatable, but you need to consider them all.
Right.
So, as a political party, I think that you go back to the drawing board, take a serious look at these things, even though we have our reservations, look at them, and then organize ourselves, organize things, and then we move the party forward. Because we are determined to build the deal. So when you have these revelations or these publications, you don't throw them out completely. But you just organize yourself and set them with some reservations, and then organize yourself and then move ahead.
Okay. Nana Obribwai, thank you so much for your time on Opposing Views today. Nana Obribwai is the Deputy General Secretary for the governing New Patriotic Party. It's now your turn to share your views. We are taking 5 calls because you don't have too much time. Remember, the numbers as usual are 055 033 1511, 055 033 1511, or 020 473 8481, 020 473 8481. And the simple thing we are asking is, do you remain confident in the NPP government's fight against corruption? That's all we are asking. Are you still confident in the NPP government's fight against corruption when you compare what was said before the elections and what happened during the first tenure and what is happening now? Do you remain confident that the NPP government is winning the fight against corruption? Call us now, 055 033 1511 and 020 473 8481. I can see that on Facebook. I think there are 2 comments there. One from Ebra Amwako suggesting that he's watching us live from Legon. Bramako, thank you for watching. Good evening. Lastborn Allo Comic says, watching you live from Spintex. My name is Mommy's Lastborn. Okay, Mommy's Lastborn, thank you for also watching. The phone lines are now active. Feel free to call in now and share your views with us. Mind you, the statistics that have been put out in summary suggest that 62% of Ghanaians doubt government's ability to curb corruption and official impunity. 53% are not confident in government's ability to protect the country's financial resources. 44% believe government will perform better when it comes to the maintenance of roads and bridges in the country. 43% believe that government will perform better in providing water and sanitation services, while 35% are optimistic about government's ability to reduce crime. And so this is the general summary of what the situation is. Let's hear you now. Can we get onto the phone lines now and hear from our first caller? Hello? Okay, we have a caller from Tamale. Hyde from Tamale. Hyde, hi, good evening.
This is Hyde speaking.
Okay, let's hear you.
Hello?
Hyde, let's hear you, please.
Yeah. we can't trust NPP government and another to fight corruption. They can never fight corruption. We all heard what they said about Mahama when they were in a position. And now look at what is happening. They are swimming absolutely in corruption. We talk of the PGS saga, we talk of the cash for this saga, we talk of everything. Nanado seems not to worry. Rather, he is shielding all his appointees. He is doing everything possible just to make sure that no member of his government is exposed. Even he himself. No wonder Matinamidu describes him as the mother serpent of corruption.
I see. Okay. Hi, thank you.
So
0550.
we can never trust Nana Akufo-Addo and the NPP government to fight corruption. They can never fight corruption.
Thank you for your views, Hyde. 055-033-1511, 055-033-1511, and 020-473-8481. We just heard from Hyde, who called us from Tamale with those views. We have okay, we don't have too much time, actually. So maybe we could just take maybe 2 more calls. We don't have enough time. We'll take those calls and then we'll call it a day right here on Opposing Views. It's been an interesting one, though, with the many suggesting that, well, you don't believe in the government's fight against corruption. But again, they will also, the MPP in particular, will suggest that they are doing a lot and that all the other issues that have been leveled against either one appointee or the other, they've all been referred to either Yoko or to Shraj or to some other body. Okay, let's go to Nkwanta. Fred is joining us from there. Fred, good evening.
Good evening.
Let's hear your thoughts, sir.
Okay. The NPP should just accept the report by the CCD and then look at it. Things that really happened, then they should correct them. And those that are not the case, then they should discard them and stop rubbishing the whole report.
Right.
Because that's not how they still have a long time to correct the anomalies in the report. Thank you.
Okay, all right, thank you very much. I think we'll have to call it a day here. We've run out of time. We've actually ate into some other programs' time. So sincere apologies for that, but we'll have to end it here. It's been another edition of Opposing Views Radio on MX24 television. I'm happy that you took time off to watch. My name again is Kwabena Chenchehene Boateng. You can follow on all social media handles. It's the KKBGH. Also, more importantly, the MX24 handles on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn. I'm seeing a number of you follow us on Instagram. Hey, hello. Welcome to the family. We love you. We thank you so much for joining. Stay there and get a lot more of your friends and colleagues to also join us and follow us, because there's a lot more fun content on this very interesting platform, MX24. At 6:30 p.m., though, there's news, and we have a lot for you in the news. For now, though, it's bye-bye from me.